Hello everybody, this is just a very brief introduction to what is expected of you for the essay portion of Test 2. It is very important to note that not every detail is going to be covered in this presentation. It is just that some people respond better to having audio in addition to reading, so I decided to make a PowerPoint in addition to the essay instructions. Nevertheless, to receive the full instructions, it is very important to read the essay question in its entirety. I did my best to make this assignment as fun as an essay assignment can be, and I hope you enjoy writing it. Or if you are somebody who always hates writing assignments, I hope that you at least enjoy it more than you tend to enjoy other such assignments. Okay, let's move on. Alright, the first order of business is just to note some of the basic requirements of the assignment itself. The written test must be turned in on Turnitin.com. The details for logging on to Turnitin will be given in the module or the essay assignment. The essay has 3 parts. The rough word count guideline is 600 words for each part if you write in a way that wastes no words and is directly to the point. But some parts may require more than others. The utilitarian portion will likely be the longest. The point here isn't to count words. As with all good writing, the point is to write as long as you need to in order to say what needs to be said. I don't grade directly on word count, but on whether or not you express everything that needs to be expressed. The point of the word count is simply to let you know how much detail is expected of a well-written essay that wastes no words, because with any of these topics, a person could write a few paragraphs, a few pages, or 100 pages. It all depends on how much detail one wants to go into. So the word count lets you know the level of detail that is expected. That is its whole purpose. So here is the basic idea behind the assignment. You will be given a detailed scenario or situation and will be asked to evaluate it from 3 perspectives. The situation will describe a lifeboat scenario in which, if everyone else on the lifeboat is to be saved, one person must be thrown over. You will be playing the role of Captain Signe Mallory, who gets to make this decision. First from the perspective of a utilitarian, then from the perspective of a Kantian or deontologist, and finally from the perspective of a virtue ethicist. These are some important notes and common errors that you will wish to avoid. First, and this is very important, you are not trying to explain what you would do if you were the captain. You are trying to say what a good utilitarian, good Kantian, and good virtue ethicist would do if they were to follow their respective theories. Second, and this is also very important, the captain is trying to follow the ethical theories. She is not trying to throw over the worst person on board. These might not be the same thing. Also, it is important to justify the decision the captain makes in the context of the theory. Explain why the captain does what she does. It is also important to note that you, that is to say the captain, cannot get out of the situation in some clever way. No matter what you do, if you do not throw a person overboard, then everybody will die. You can choose not to throw anybody overboard, but you must face the result that everybody will die. You can't prevent this by taking turns swimming, or by hanging onto the boat, or by finding a friendly dolphin to ride to safety. There is absolutely no hope that whoever is thrown overboard will survive, and there is no hope that any will survive if nobody is thrown over. The captain is needed to navigate. She is the most important person on the ship. If she goes overboard, everybody dies. Okay, now for some details about the scenario itself. One dreadful night on a stormy sea, the USS Tragic Irony is swiftly sinking as it is being torn apart by waves. The weather is fierce, and the captain and 6 other passengers have boarded the ship's only lifeboat and have pushed themselves far enough away from the sinking ship to avoid being pulled under by the current caused by the sinking bulk. Though the aptly-produced lifeboat called the Laughing Coyote claims that it was designed to hold 7 people, the lifeboat has started sinking under the weight of the captain and surviving passengers. The passengers throw all their possessions overboard, but the Laughing Coyote is still sinking. The lifeboat is simply not strong enough to hold all 7 people in this kind of storm. Unless one person is thrown off the lifeboat, it will soon sink and everybody on board will die. We will now give brief bios of everybody on board the lifeboat. You should also make sure that you read the essay assignment online in case there have been small tweaks to the assignment. If there have been, the written version takes precedence. First is Captain Sidney Mallory. Captain Sidney Mallory is an excellent captain and believes that there may be a chance to sail the small lifeboat to an island that will sustain them until they can signal help. As the captain, she is the only person on the lifeboat with a gun, and it is up to her to choose who lives and who dies. If she herself dies or decides to leave the ship to make a spot for somebody else, she is certain that everybody on board will either die in the storm or die lost at sea unable to find land. For the sake of this question, assume that this is true. Only Sidney Mallory has a chance of saving the people on board. Without her, death for the others is certain. Captain Sidney Mallory also happens to know all the available information about her passengers that is listed below. Next we have Ferris Pilton. Ferris Pilton is a pseudo-celebrity who comes from an extremely wealthy family. She's something of a snob and doesn't have any really close friends, but many fans would miss her if she dies, and she is loved by her father. She has a feeling of privilege and has a tendency to use people to get what she wants. When it becomes clear that the ship will not hold everybody, she whispers into Captain Mallory's ear that she will pay the captain $1 million if she allows her to stay on the lifeboat. The captain believes she would uphold the bargain. She is used to being pampered, so Captain Mallory estimates she will not improve the crew's chances of survival, although she would not harm the crew's chances either. The third position on the craft is taken up by Rosie Young. Rosie is a 5-year-old blind girl who is traveling on the USS Tragic Irony to go live with her grandmother, her only surviving relative after her parents died in a fire. Apart from her grandmother, she has no family. While she is at the moment crying in the lifeboat, Rosie is normally a quite bright and cheerful girl. For the sake of the argument, assume that even Rosie weighs enough to save the boat from sinking if she is thrown off. Next up we have Jonathan Strongback. Jonathan is a 35-year-old ex-con. Tried as a juvenile for murder he committed at age 16, he was released early from prison for good behavior. Though Jonathan was indeed guilty of the murder, he is remorseful and is dedicated to turning his life around and making up for his misdeed. He was traveling on the USS Tragic Irony on his way to join the Peace Corps, where he wished to dedicate the rest of his life to helping house, clothe, and feed and otherwise aid desperately poor people around the world. Jonathan isn't educated since he was put into the system before finishing high school, but he is a hard worker and physically fit. Captain Mallory estimates that his physical abilities will give those on the lifeboat a 25% greater chance of survival if they make it to land, where strength and skill with his hands will be needed. Sitting next to Stromback is Dr. Eric Healthbetter. Eric Healthbetter is a narcissistic egomaniac. He is 33 years old, is incredibly selfish, and is willing to do anything, short of breaking the law, to get what he wants. He is a liar, a cheater, and a scoundrel. He is also quite an excellent doctor. And even though his practice is in plastic surgery, he would also be an excellent general practitioner. If the lifeboat manages to reach dry land, Mallory believes that his expertise will likely increase the chances of the rest of the party surviving until rescue. He is a bachelor, though he has a girlfriend back home who is very much in love with him and mentally planning out a future together. For Eric, she is just one of a steady stream of girls he dates, strings along to get what he wants, and then dumps. Captain Mallory estimates that he would give the crew a 25% greater chance of living if they make it to land. Occupying the 6th slot on the ship is Gretchen Cainrattler. Gretchen Cainrattler is an 82-year-old old woman, but she is in good health for somebody who is 82 years old. She spent most of her life as a librarian and has all her wits about her. Now she is an active member of her local community. Though she is a widow, she has 2 children and 5 lovely grandchildren, which she cherishes greatly. And in the final lifeboat seat sits Aaron Freespinner. Aaron is a 22-year-old college student and doesn't yet know what he wants to do with his life. Though he has potential, he tends to hang around with a group of friends that brings out the worst in him. He is usually depressed, often smokes pot and drinks, though is not an addict, and is guilty of a number of petty crimes such as vandalism, shoplifting, and drunken disorderly conduct. He has never committed a violent crime. He was on board the USS Tragic Irony because he was moving to live in another state with his mother, who hopes he will get his act together in a new environment. His mother thinks Aaron will improve once he is away from the mildly abusive parenting of his father, her ex-husband, and his poor choice of friends. Please also note that the seats of the people on this lifeboat do not indicate the order in which they boarded. There was so much chaos that the captain does not know the order in which the people made it to the lifeboat. So that was the basic scenario. Now for a few important hints. These will help you. First, your goal is to show a strong understanding of the theories involved. Second, when writing, remember that you want to demonstrate that the captain is thinking like a utilitarian, a Kantian, etc. Note that this is not the same thing as trying to throw off the worst person on the ship according to a given theory. Also, please clearly label each section. It will also help you to remember the anatomy of an ethical theory, remember to paragraph your ideas. I would much rather have too many paragraphs than too few, because it at least shows which ideas you feel are grouped together. Remember that your arguments, reasoning, justifications are more important than your final decisions, and even more important than just listing facts about the theory. Always be as specific as you can be when writing. Also, try not to hide behind hedging words when they are not absolutely necessary for actual accuracy. Here is a good approach to answering these questions. It will vary a little bit for virtue ethics, which will be mentioned briefly in the next slide. Explain what is morally valuable under the theory you are having the captain reason under. Explain how that theory suggests reaching or achieving the good and why. Explain the steps in the captain's reasoning in detail. Go through each step of the reasoning process and explain it. This means explaining not just why you threw over the person you did, if you did, but also why you didn't throw over those you didn't. The decision to throw a given person over was not made in a vacuum. It was made in the context of a set of choices and options. Virtue ethics is a bit of a special case. Some of the previous still applies. You want to show your understanding for the theory. But keep in mind the following. In the case of virtue ethics, the ethical person tends to act as a result of long-formed habits. So you should talk about what virtuous habits are important for a captain and why and how they are developed in the context of the theory. You might note that even though the captain acts automatically, why those automatic behaviors are virtuous, what makes them so, and why that is good under the theory. And that is the end of this presentation. Again, I wish to emphasize that you should also read the essay assignment. The purpose of the PowerPoint was just as an aid for those who like audio and visual explanation. Until next time.